What's up, Hoof listeners? Welcome into the Hoof Podcast. 7:30 on Thursday. As always, it's OTA time, right? Not a lot going on. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a couple reports and tweets about, a couple receptions by Keon Coleman or Kincaid and 7-on-7, but really, I try not to read into that stuff in training camp, but OTAs, absolutely not. I'm not reading into anything in OTAs.
I know, right? Yeah. Throwing passes and with no pads on and the helmets look nice, but nothing else going on. Yeah, it's fun to watch. It's good to see. It's the first step in building chemistry. It's, just another step in the process, but you're right that I don't think this is where we're going to be getting any valuable information in terms of how guys look or what they're
Right.
doing,
Yeah,
unless it's something about them not learning the playbook fast enough or something,
right. They're shaking hands, getting to know each other, throwing a couple
Exactly.
balls. I think it's an important time of year because I think you get a head start on, getting to know the new group,
Mhm.
things like that. I think every year is different. Bills really haven't had a lot of turnover the last 4 seasons. But again, every year there is a few new guys there, right? If you're Josh Allen, it's very important that you shake hands, kiss babies, and get to know the new teammates.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like dating, right? You're getting to know all the new teammates, building that chemistry, trying to figure out who you have the connections with, It's early stages, and it's definitely the grace period. You can definitely tell though in interviews and everything, it's very relaxed environment. Everybody's there. It's serious but very relaxed at the same time, if that makes sense. They're focused on football, but um enjoying it casually, I think. It's it's not the throes of competition in training camp yet, right? So, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, it's the funnest thing for me is just seeing the rookies in the uniform,
Yeah.
kind of getting familiar with, okay, Coleman's number 0, Cole Bishop's number 24. I think that stuff's important just to, so when you're watching
Yeah,
preseason
getting
games,
used to
training
that, yeah.
camp, you can kind of tell who's who because it is very hard. I don't know if you've ever been to training camp at St. John Fisher. I'm sure you have, but
Absolutely. I used to go I mean, I'm a St. John Fisher alum, right? So, I used to go every single year, and now that the Bills are really good, it's much harder to get tickets, and still they do an alumni event,
yeah,
but, it's still harder to get tickets for that. They sell out so fast. So,
I forgot you were a St. John Fisher alumni.
I
Now, how
am.
long have the Bills been at St. John Fisher? I know as far as back as I can
Good
remember, but I'm
question.
not really
Yeah.
sure when it started. But I mean,
It
even when
was
you were in school, were they still doing training
Oh,
camp there?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
So when I interviewed there, or when I whatever you call it, campus visited there, they took us on the football field and said, like, this is where the Buffalo Bills practice. And I was like, wait a minute, on this field or like over there? And they're like, no, right here on this field. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm
you got me.
standing where the Buffalo
Here's my
exactly.
checkbook. Yeah.
So not the best way to choose a college for sure. Those prospective graduate or students out there looking for colleges to go to, don't choose based on that, but it is a pretty amazing perk, and it was fun to know. Like, I used to look up who was staying in my dorm and stuff, like try and figure out, oh, that was my dorm room, and which
Yeah.
player's staying in my dorm room, and
Maybe they
you
left some
know.
underwear behind that I can sniff.
Well, they did sleep in all the beds and everything, so it was interesting, to experience that. But like I said, we used to be able to go. I used to go to all the training camp things. I used to be able to, get special treatment there because I was a Fisher student and stuff, and there wouldn't be as many people as there are
Yeah,
now.
that's
Now
cool.
every public
That's a
one
cool
is
perk.
completely sold out, and
Yeah.
everybody's there, and as they should be. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not disappointed in that, but it does mean that it's much harder for me to be able to go and experience it. I actually haven't been to training camp in the last, I think, 4 years now, at least,
Yeah.
because the Bills are, a lot
Right.
better and people
First
show
time I
up.
ever went was when Josh Allen's rookie year, so it was 2018. And I've gone at least, I want to say once every other year, not every year. We live in the Rochester area, so I've
Mhm.
gone, past few years I've gone every year. But I gotta say, it's like one of the better NFL experiences, in my opinion. You go there, you're up close
Oh.
and you're very close to the players,
Mhm.
right? You can kind of feel the size and see the talent, right? How fast they are, how far they can throw, things like that. And I think that's fun. It's one of the best experiences, for
Yeah.
me. It's got to be better than a preseason game, just because you are so close. And
Oh,
if you time it right, you can always get an autograph. Like
Mhm,
we went
mhm.
with my sister-in-law, and she brought a friend that had a, I think probably a 3-month-old baby. And there's tons of people trying to get Stephon Diggs autograph, right? It's obviously a huge mob. But she just holds the baby out and says, "I have a baby." And Diggs, got his attention, came over, signed the baby.
Sign the baby.
Cool. There's always the fun stuff to do there as well. There's games, there's food, so it's overall, I think
experience.
It's a great experience.
Yeah, and it's unique in the fact that it's more intimate and everything. I remember I could talk to some of the players while they're at practice, while they're on the sideline, and I'm just standing there at the rail or whatever. And it was fun, because they do interact with you and everything. And that's pretty cool, and one of the most memorable, I remember when the season TO came and I went to practice and TO is like, 5 feet away from me, and just knowing like, holy hell, that is a huge dude.
Yeah.
Like, I've been watching him play in the NFL for a long time. I did not realize how big he was until you're literally standing next to the guy and you're like, holy crap, that's an NFL athlete right there,
Yeah, you're like, I couldn't play in the league. No way.
That was one of my I'd say most memorable training camp experiences, because everybody was hyped for that when we got him, and just seeing him on the field and like how big he was, like I said, that was
like before the Bills were good, right? So that was a big deal.
Exactly.
Right?
It was, a big name signing for us. And it was the first kind of spark that people were excited for and came out to see. So that training camp was special. But so I've been to many, but and there are plenty of memories. I mean, I have Fred Jackson's autograph. I have a bunch of autographs I got in person there.
That's cool.
And just getting to see the guys and talk to them is the coolest.
Now, don't lie. How many kids did you have to push away to get these autographs?
Again, see, when I went, it wasn't like there was like a whole bombardment of kids section or whatever. There was kids there, but it wasn't a ton. It was a good mix of just fans in general.
Every time I've gone, I'm like, I'm going to get an autograph. I'm going to try to get up front, and then there's a whole bunch of kids in front. And you're like, all right, fine. It's not that big a deal.
I haven't been when it's that crowded for a Josh Allen or a Stephon Diggs. So I wouldn't know, but didn't have to push any kids out of the way. Now I have my own kid. I can't wait to bring Logan and
there you go. Yeah, beat the system.
He loves the Bills now, and and all that. So he's almost to the age where I can take him and be like, let's go, buddy. And
it is
he knows
kid-friendly.
Josh Allen, and
you go to the game sometimes, you're like, is this kid friendly? I'm not real sure. Like, it's borderline. Sometimes it's obviously not, right?
Mm-hmm.
But training camp, from my experience, every time I've gone, always been kid friendly.
Absolutely,
right? It's always family friendly, and you don't have to worry about all that craziness. So it's like I said, overall great time. But what we're gonna get into tonight, we're gonna get into, not a lot of position battles. Not a lot of details, but just maybe some surface level stuff, right? If you watched our show before, we love our cash or trash segment. I'll just read a statement. Anthony will tell me if it's cash or trash. Feel free to put your opinions in the comments as well. But I got, let's see, position battles. I got like 6 or 7. These are bold statements. I got cash or trash AFC East. We'll go around the division. I got a cash or trash segment for around the league. And then at the end, player awards. Bills MVP, league MVP, things of that nature. So let's get into this, right? Let's see how long this takes us. Sometimes these can get lengthy, right? Because there's Anthony has a lot of opinions. I don't know if you ever listen to the show. But...
Just a few here or there.
All right, so up first, we got cash or trash position battles. Now, this is just outside looking in as we head into the summer here. Still a ways from training camp. We'll be talking about that a lot during, I think, July, August timeframe. But right now, let's just, I don't even think this roster is fully built out yet. So let's just, with what we have, what we know, let's dive in a little bit. All right, number 1, Anthony, ready? The top 3 receivers in team yardage at the end of the 24-25 season are already on the Bills roster. Got a little background on this one. So Diggs has been the leader for the last 4 seasons. 2023, it was Diggs, Gabe Davis, Kincaid. 2022, it was Diggs, Davis, Knox. And then 2021, it was Diggs, Beasley, and Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders.
Are already on the Bills roster now, you're saying. So
I'm saying if there's a post June 1st signing, we're not counting that right now.
You're including Kincaid in the mix, like tight ends of pass catchers. You say wide receivers here, but you said Kincaid in the previous year. If you include the tight ends, I would say yes, because So this is cash to me. Cash. The three guys, I don't think we're going to make a big splash and add something, beyond what we already know to expect here, right? So in my mind, this is cash because I look at Kincaid. I expect him to be the leader in the clubhouse at the end of the year, one way or another, right? I look at Khalil Shakir and say he's likely to be number 2 in my mind in terms of yardage by the end of the year. The number 3 spot I would say is open, but you look at a Curtis Samuel, and I actually wouldn't count out, Dawson Knox even being up there by the time the season ends, right? Because we know that he has the best of the players on the roster now. He has the most chemistry with Josh Allen, and they've proven that they work well together and that they trust each other. So I would say yes. Even if we make some other addition, I don't expect it to be, one of these. We're not Justin Jefferson or something crazy like that happens. I'm not expecting that. So count me in the cash department. I'm sorry to those who want the Bills to trade for one of the receivers in San Francisco or a Justin Jefferson or whatever dream scenario you have. Right now, I think that's just not realistic to actually expect to happen.
Right. No big name, not somebody that can come in and take, receptions away instantly. Maybe a depth signing, right? But would it be a top 3 receiver on the roster? I don't see it. But I agree with your names. The only issue I had was Kincaid and Shakir both work the middle of the field.
Yeah.
So unless the Bills go like 100%, we're going to throw it to the slot and Kincaid in the F tight end position. Well, I just think they kind of take carries away from each other. They take receptions away from each other. So I think maybe Curtis Samuel has a good chance to lead the team in receptions, right? Got the experience,
certainly
been in this system before, right? Got the leg up there. Probably a lot different now than the Carolina days because Josh Allen has his his inputs on the offense. But also like Mac Hollins is a sneaky guy that can get in there, right? Ooh. He's had some big games in the NFL. If some of that stuff can carry over, he might be able to sneak in there. Could maybe sneak in there, maybe be the 3, right? Because you got Kincaid. You said that Shakir. Again, I feel like Kincaid and Shakir are going to kind of split receptions, so that could keep their yards down a little.
I think the part where we're disagreeing here, or maybe not on the same page, I don't expect this to be a traditional Kincaid's in the slot and Shakir's in the slot, right? In the middle of the field. No, they're going to line up everywhere. And I mean everywhere. Shakir is going to be in the X position, in the middle. He's going to line up behind the running back. He's going to be on the other side of the everywhere. Those guys are going to be everywhere. I think that's going to be an actual feature of this Ken Dorsey offense now is like
Joe Brady,
or Joe Brady, Ken Dorsey. The previous Ken, he's gone. So now the Joe Brady offense, I think, is going to be a lot more spread out, right? And I think that's going to be a feature of this, where these guys, even if you know who's in the huddle, when they break, you don't know where they're going. And even if there's 2 tight ends, you don't know where they're going, or 2 running backs or whatever it is. The running back's going to line up at wide receiver, and the tight end's going to be the running back position traditional. So I think that is going to have a lot to do with how you get production the most out of those top 2 guys in my mind, Kincaid and Shakir, right? By not putting them in the same position every snap, basically, or the expected position most of their snaps.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. They are definitely versatile.
It's definitely where they're going to get the most action. Obviously, I agree with you there, but they're going to have opportunities everywhere. And I think that's going to open it up more.
Well said. And it's really like it comes down to a lot of it's like packages, like who's seeing the field more, right? Who's getting opportunities more, kind of leads into the production, right? More opportunities, normally more production. So that'll be very interesting to keep an eye on. But your go cash, they're already on the roster, the top 3. Okay.
Sorry to those who want to trade.
Yes, we all want to trade, but
big trade. Yeah, it's not going to happen. I don't think we need it. I honestly don't think we need it.
Next year, look for the trade. Have a little more cap space. All right, next one here. 3 or more rookies will have starting roles for the Bills by week 8. You look at last year, Kincaid, Torrance, Dorian Williams started some games, but didn't really see the field until late in the season. So really had 2 starters last year. How about this year? 3 or more, cash or trash?
Ooh. what is a starting role really for the Bills, right? So that is what I'm asking
Yeah,
myself here.
another hard one.
Specifically when I think about the defensive line, right?
Mm.
Solomon, is he going to be a starter? Does he start the game? No, he's not one of your top 2. Is he going to have just as many snaps as the top 2 guys? Probably. Yeah. So I think that is certainly on the level of starter capability. So and I think if you put, obviously, the only guarantee there is Coleman, right? He's
Yeah,
a
agree.
starter penciled in.
Cole Bishop, we'll see. We'll see.
Bishop,
Right?
exactly. He could earn that role and literally be the one, right,
Yeah,
on the
he
field
could
most
have
of the snaps.
potentially 2, but questionable on Bishop. Definitely Coleman though. So there's 1.
Yeah, so 2, beyond that, I don't know. So I'm going to go trash for this one, just because I think to say that one of those other guys, even Carter, right, maybe he gets some
Yeah,
certain amount of snaps. We know they rotate the D line. So if you told me he's going to have, Carter will have just as many snaps as, the next guy up, the third, the
right.
second, or whatever, then I wouldn't be surprised.
Daquan Jones coming back at Oliver.
Exactly.
Going to see
Right.
the field a lot more. So
Exactly.
starting role. I mean, again,
It's starter though. I wouldn't.
impact might be the better word, but
Yeah, I
starter
expect a ton of
is what we
impact
got.
from the rookies. Actually, I expect a ton of impact from the rookies. 3 starters, obviously, Van Pran Granger could
I
sneak
was
in
going to
there as a
say
starter.
yes. So you
But
could
right
have 3,
now,
right? Just to back up real quick, you could have Coleman. We agree on Bishop. We both agree could win the job.
potentially, yeah.
It's obvious through watching the embedded stuff and listening to the press conferences. They love Cole Bishop,
Clearly, yeah.
right? And then the big question mark is that center position, and can Van Pran step up and take that role? And again, that's a lot to throw on a 5th
Yes.
round pick, but he's got a ton of experience at high level college football, 2 national championships.
Mm-hmm.
It's not completely crazy to think he
It's
could
not.
sneak in there. So that's
It's
3.
But I think the reason I say trash for now is because I think they are set in not making him the day 1 starter, right? They
Yeah.
brought him in as a handcuff just in case
Right.
their plan doesn't work
Yeah.
out the way they want, with shuffling 2 of the
Right.
offensive linemen around rather than
Right. It's
keeping your
also,
left guard and changing center. Yeah.
it's a position that touches the football in every single play. You can't have that player, not being confident or thinking too much. And I think
Mhm.
throwing a rookie out there, who is probably outmatched, right, physically, that's a lot to think about, right? And you don't want your center thinking on every play. Is how fumbles happen, things like that. So I agree with you 100%. I don't think they throw him out there week 1.
Yeah. So by week 8, I certainly hope not, as long as Connor McGovern and the plan has gone accordingly. Let's put it that way, right? He's either going to be the starter in week 1, or Connor McGovern's the guy, and that's that, right? And I don't want Van Pran Granger to see a field, because that means there's either an injury or something's gone completely haywire, and that's not good. So
Yes.
I would say no. That's why I'm saying trash for this. And
All right.
there's other guys. We talked about Solomon. He could be a contributor. Would a starting kick returner count? Because then you could make an
Right.
argument there
Right.
that he's a starter and a rookie. But I'm not counting that, obviously.
Right. Doesn't hit the stats as a game started. And Ray Davis, no chance to beat out James Cook, right? No chance.
No, he's definitely the 3
Okay.
at this point.
So really it comes down to that center position, but yeah, agree, trash week 1. All right, sticking with that center position, with Connor McGovern taking over at center, no other centers make the roster. Will
Ooh.
Clapp, Cedric Van Pran. We touched on this a few weeks ago. The big question with Will Clapp, who was signed from the Los Angeles Chargers, he started week 4 through 15 for them, did a decent job.
Mm-hmm.
Season ended by injury. Can he play guard? I don't know. I never has before. Cedric Van Pran, primarily been a center, even going back to high school. He's 4 years of high school as a center, right? Played college as a center. So these are 2 guys I don't think can play guard, which makes it really tricky when you're looking at roster cuts. We know how the Bills love players who can play center and guard.
Versatility.
Value that. If Connor McGovern's truly the starter at center week 1, do these other guys make the roster?
Yeah. I'm definitely going trash for this one. I think Cedric Van Pran Granger is a lock to make the roster, actually. I think as a draft pick, they're confident in him. He's their handcuff here, their protection. they're not going to risk losing him at all. And so I think he's a lock to make the roster. I believe Bean has said that they're going to give him some run at guard. Like they want him to be versatile. Same thing with Will Clapp. I think these things tend to work themselves out as training camp goes on.
Right.
Inevitably,
You see what you have.
You have injuries, you have whatever. Perfect situation. They all play amazingly. And Bean starts to wheel and deal and make trades, right? Then you say, okay, if Will Clapp and Cedric Van Granger are on the same page, guess what? Will Clapp, we're sending you north or something. You know, you're going to a team that needs you because we have a young guy locked up for 4 years and we're going to keep him, right? So that's why you bring in the balance of veteran with young guys, because if the young guy doesn't stick, you know what you have in the veteran. And if the young guy does well and the veteran does well, perfect. Now you have a trade piece that you can use. So definitely to me, two of these guys are locks. Will Clapp may still make the roster in addition to these other two, but
that would be surprising.
That would be surprising in my
Yeah.
mind. So that's why I think that he ends up being the trade piece because, the other two in my mind are just above him on the roster.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, Van Pran, he has to make the roster. Otherwise, you put him on the practice squad, another team will pick him up.
Oh, definitely.
Right,
Yeah.
but he is a developmental piece, right? I don't think it's like you said, it's not a week one. He's not a week one starter, so he'll be stored on the roster. Likely, you'd hope to take over the center position later in the season, but you're almost, giving up a roster spot because I don't think you can put him at guard, right? So he's just going to be sitting there while Connor McGovern, plays center for the first half of the season at least, maybe more. All right, next one. Are these all trash so far for you?
No, I was cash on the first one, I think.
Cash
right?
on. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Top 3 receivers and yards.
Yep,
Okay, making sure. All right, next one. Ray Davis will get more carries than Ty Johnson at the end of the 24-25 season.
Ooh.
Ty Johnson finished the season last year with only 30 carries. That could increase because I think he did the most with those 30 carries,
yes,
right?
He did.
Brought a spark to the offense, in key moments. So
this is a really tough one. I tell you what, though, I'm going to go trash for a couple of reasons. There's a running back position. They're going to go with what they know, right? Ty Johnson has done well. We're not going to break that. If he starts to wear down, Ray Davis is going to get those touches instead. We saw that last year with, some of the older guys we brought in. Ty Johnson isn't that old, but now I think Ray Davis will be the clear 3 day one. However, if this were talking about touches, I might be cash actually, because I do think Ray Davis will be in there for those pass situations, for some of those, plays where it's short yardage, you have the option, runner pass. I do think Ray Davis will get those touches over a Ty Johnson. So touches I might be, and I do think Ray Davis, again, as a rookie, he's going to increase as the season goes on, as he shows what he can do as long as he's consistent, right? And Ty Johnson, I'm not expecting him to, explode onto the scene. We know what he is, or the opposite. I'm not expecting him to fall off a cliff either. He's been very good. I expect him to still be very good as a number 2. But I do think Davis ends up getting more touches as the season goes on to surpass Ty Johnson in situational football, but not in terms of the depth chart overall.
Yeah, and I think Ray Davis he can catch the ball in the backfield, right? So
yeah.
If James Cook goes down for whatever reason, needs to come out because he's exhausted because they gave him the ball too much, like the Dallas game, then I think Ray Davis fills his role, which could add some more carries there as well. Ty Johnson, like you said, is a little different skill set. More of a spark player, not necessarily a receiving running back. So, yeah, if we're counting receptions, I think Ray Davis will get more touches. If we're counting strictly carries, it's going to be closer than you think, but I think Ray Davis does have the upside as the season progresses. I agree with you. All right, next one. Kaiir Elam will start at CB2 before week 10 of the 24-25 season.
Oh,
Kaiir Elam started 2 games last year, 6 the year before. Only appeared in 3 games last year.
We'll start. Oh my gosh. Again, this one I'm going to go trash because that's not the plan, right? And if it is, something's gone wrong. Even if Kaiir Elam does well, he's not playing CB1 or CB2 in my mind, right? Because I want Christian Benford and I want what's his name? Geez, his name just escaped me.
Rasul Douglas.
Rasul Douglas, thank you. Above him on the roster, right? As long as those two are healthy, those two are playing. I hope Kaiir Elam does so well that he's begging for time on the field and that they have a nice rotation and that none of those guys run out of gas because they're a great rotation. But no matter what, Kaiir Elam should not be the starter. Those two guys have earned their spots. And Rasul Douglas is a free agent at the end of the season. Thank you for your service, Kaiir Elam. Ready to step right in. That's the best case scenario for me.
So you see, you think Kaiir Elam gets that CB3 spot to replace the outside corners? Obviously, Taron Johnson.
Not talking about Taron.
But if there's an injury, Kaiir Elam's the first guy to come in and play.
Yes, and I do think that. And I before the injury part, I think it's more of just the rotational part. We know that these guys aren't on the field for every snap. Kaiir Elam will be the one to spell them, and enough, hopefully, to keep them all fresh. And then you're, aces all the time. That'd be great. But starting, trash for me. I don't want that to be the case because that probably means something negative happened.
Yeah, and then when we have seen Kaiir Elam, it's been later in the year, right? For some reason, we just don't see him early in the season. And last year, we didn't even see him till the postseason, right? So,
right,
yeah, pretty funny. The curious case of Kaiir Elam, for sure. All right, next one, couple more here on the position battles. Keon Coleman has the highest expectations of any player on offense not named Josh Allen.
This
expectations. No, it's
a
tough thing to define, really.
It is. And for that reason, I'm going trash, right? I think there's too many other players that you could put this word of expectation on. I would go completely on the defensive side, right? Expectation is what you make of it. So you could say expectation, Ed Oliver, you're expected to be Ed Oliver, right? We know what you can do now. You better produce. If you fall off even a little bit, that's not okay, right? Expectation, you could go to Daquan Jones and say, look, we know who you are. The expectation is there for you to do this. If you don't do that by your standard, that's not good enough, right? Expectation, even a guy like Von Miller, right? The expectation isn't that you're going to get 12 sacks anymore, but it is that your leadership and your play on the field, and you better play at an elite level when you are out there, right? Even if it means reduced snaps. The expectation is there. So, and you could throw those darts everywhere. Taron Johnson, right? Although we just overlook him. Why? Because the expectation is that he is going to be a lockdown at his position, right? So I would put him as one of the leaders. Matt Milano, the expectation is that you're coming off of this injury and you're still going to be a leader on that defense, right?
Yeah.
Everybody on the defensive side, right?
What about the offensive side, though? Because we know Josh Allen always has high expectations, probably more this year because, another star player leaves and Stephon Diggs. There seems to be more on Josh Allen to mature, to lead, to take that leadership role.
Personally,
obviously Kincaid comes to mind for me, right?
Yes.
You want to see that jump from rookie season to sophomore season. We saw a lot of good things from him last year, playing in man coverage, which shows they're confident in him, right? He can beat one-on-one coverage. They believe that. You expect that to grow, right? But Keon Coleman, another guy's drafted high. He's a young player, but again, the traits are there, right? There's a lot to like about his game. And with Diggs leaving and Gabe Davis leaving, does that put the expectation on him, or are you leaning more towards Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins?
Yeah, so I'm
even Chase Claypool.
That's why with Coleman, I'm definitely going trash, right? I don't think the expectation is on Coleman. Does he have to prove that he was the guy? Yeah, that's true. Kincaid was a first-round pick. Coleman was not a first-round pick. Kincaid's coming into his second year. Coleman is a rookie, right? So expectations are going to be very low coming into week one for Keon Coleman. Expectations are going to be through the roof for Kincaid, and he better produce, right? And I would also say the same for a guy like Shakir. The expectation after you proved you could grow that much in the second half of last year, the expectation now is for you to be that guy on offense, right? So I would put Shakir above Keon Coleman as well in terms of what I expect from him coming into the season.
You can put James Cook
exactly,
Coleman, right?
James, I was going to bring his name up as well on offense because he is going to have the touches guaranteed, right? He is the number one running back. He's going to have the opportunity to catch balls from Josh Allen. There's a ton of expectation there in terms of coming off, what was he, like third in yards from scrimmage last season overall in the NFL? So, I mean, there's a ton of other players, I think, that will take the burden of expectation. That's not saying Keon Coleman doesn't have a high standard for himself. That's not saying the team doesn't expect a lot from him. That's saying, hey, look, you're a rookie. We know who you are. Even if your ceiling is wide receiver 2, you're going to be a hit. So we're not worried about making you the centerpiece of the offense that we have to lean on. If that happens, great, but it's not, you're like option 3 in my mind at best, if after Kincaid, Shakir, and maybe Coleman. Then.
Yeah, and I think the expectation is on Kincaid even more than Shakir because he was the first round pick, right? And he was, during the draft process, there's a lot of talk of him going top 10, and if he wasn't a tight end, he might have, right? I mean, tight end's just the positional value caused him to drop.
That was by far. I never had.
But also, you saw flashes of him living up to that, right? So I think that carries over for sure. Whereas Keon Coleman, we know is a developmental player.
Yes.
Right. A lot of people said you go top 10 if you ran 4.3 or ran 4.4 because there's a lot to like there, but there's just a lot of question marks. Like, can this guy actually, win with speed in the NFL? Right. It's a big question. So I think that expectation, when you take a guy who has that tag of a developmental player, that expectation comes to year 2, year 3, year 4. Year 1, you're just like, well, what do we even have here? Right. And I think it was even true with Josh Allen when you took him in 2018. What do we have here? Right. There really was no expectation his rookie season. Right. I mean, nobody was really that upset when, Nathan Peterman started over him. Right. So, but year 2 that it went up, you saw him getting better. Year 3, the expectation was absolutely there, and he answered the call. And then every year is just now you just expect him to be great, right? And I think that's the path Keon Coleman is on for expectation. All right, last one for position battles. Von Miller will lead the Bills in sacks at the end of the 24-25 season.
Is this one a joke?
Definitely he's capable of it.
Definitely trash.
What you saw last year definitely
correct.
Makes you wonder.
He's going to improve from last year, only because if he's any worse, he should be selling T-shirts on the corner. So I think there's still reason to believe that what we saw out of Von Miller last year was recovery from the injury. He was never really himself. Now he's had a full off season. He's going to be able to gear up again. We're going to see production from him. Am I expecting a sack a game? No. Am I expecting something crazy? No, but I do expect he is going to do well, right? So, I mean, he's not going to be electric. He's not going to get 90% of the snaps, which is what he played most of his career, not in Buffalo, literally. And he's not even going to get 50% in my mind. But when he's out there situationally, he needs to be productive. And for me, that means he doesn't lead in sacks. I want Rousseau to lead in sacks, right? That would be phenomenal.
Yeah. And last year Leonard Floyd led the team 10.5.
Right.
And Oliver was second at 9.5.
Correct. That's where I was going to go next. Is now you have the inside combination. You could have Ed Oliver just being himself, consistent from last year. He gets 9-10 sacks. He could lead the team, and the other guys, including Solomon, Von Miller, Greg Rousseau, Epinesa, could split and each get 6-7, and then you've got a ton of sacks on this team, right? So I think that the share of sacks is going to be spread out pretty good. And of the guys, I think Ed Oliver has the best chance based on how many snaps we expect him to take over the other guys, and the rotations that happen.
Yeah.
But if you told me right now Epinesa is going to lead, I'd be like, great, that sounds great. Sign me up. 10, 11, 12. Yeah, sign me up. So Von Miller
last year he played about 40% of the rotation, right? So he's at a disadvantage there.
Yeah.
He's going to have to do that with less reps.
Exactly. That would be capitalizing on, but you see that happen all the time, right? Guys who come in situationally, 4 sacks could end up with 10 plus sacks, right? And they only play 30-something% of the snaps in the NFL. But that's not on this team. I think it's going to be more of an even spread, and that makes it harder. But Von Miller, I expect him to be much lower in the category of those guys I just named. So this is trash for me.
Joey also had Smoot, somebody we forgot about. New additions, right?
That's right. And he's expected to be on this roster.
Well, that's what happened last year with Leonard Floyd. You're like, oh, who's this guy? I know he played with Vaughn in LA, right? But he came in, had a great year. Really came through in key moments for the Bills all season.
Yeah.
Right?
And Smoot's contract.
San Francisco, but
Smoot's contract says, he's going to be on this team. He's going to be a part of this team.
Yeah.
And part of that rotation as well.
Maybe
So
fills
thank you
that
for
role.
bringing his name up, because I did forget about him who I was naming.
Yeah. Also, Rousseau, I agree with you 100%. Last year I expected Rousseau to step up and kind of take the lead role in the pass rush rotation, right? Kind of seems like he did have a lot of pressures, a lot of run stops, but again, the sacks just seem to be something he's really not, he's not getting to the quarterback, right? Maybe that's by design. Who knows? But it seems like, a guy like him, you'd want to see step up because he's the first round pick. Again, like we talked about with the developmental tag, he had that tag as well. Now in year, 3 or 4? I think it's time for him to, are you going to take this next step, or are we just going to be, a player who fills a certain role and does a decent job at that role, right? All right, next one. We're going to get into cash or trash around the division, AFC East. I know you wanted to talk about the division, so here we go.
Yeah. Excited for this one.
The Patriots had the best offseason in terms of adding talent of any team in the AFC East.
I'm sorry, what? The who?
Well, the thing with the
Patriots... Wait.
Adding talent.
Upgrading or adding talent? Upgrading? Or adding talent?
Bringing in talent.
So now you had this guy, now you got this guy. That's
right.
It's just we brought in this guy.
Same thing.
Trash. Absolute trash. To upgrading, maybe you could sway me on we had nothing and now we've got this nice guy here. Okay. Or potential, right? There's potential there. But saying that they added the best talent, to me, no, they're still last in the division. You're still last in the division. You did not bring in enough talent to move the needle. Then that's not impressive, right? I think the Jets brought in talent. I think the Dolphins brought in. I think the Bills brought in talent. The Jets would probably be my call there for one in the division. So this is trash to me because I could still make the argument that the Patriots are last, even though the Bills did not make a bunch of splash moves. In terms of moving the needle, you could argue that the Bills did more than the Patriots. And the Patriots are rebuilding, right? We know that. And they brought in a lot of key pieces this year. They know the direction they want to go. That's a good place to be.
They finally addressed the need, right?
Exactly.
Looking back, going, wow, we haven't really hit on an offensive player in a long time. So they just took an offensive player every single round, right?
Yes. So the
they also added
is a
Antonio
clearer.
Gibson, right, and from the Commanders.
Yes,
decent running back. But yeah, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, obviously Drake May. They addressed the quarterback position.
Correct.
But
rookies, I mean,
we'll see how
they're
that goes.
Totally unproven. At least we know the direction they're going. I'm not crapping on the Patriots. This was a good offseason for them. They know who they are. They know what they want to do. They're going to try it and implement it. If it doesn't work, they're not married to it, which is a great place to be. If it doesn't work, great. You draft something next year to replace the one you got this year, and you have more cap space. And so this team is going to be, in a good rebuild mode for the next 3 years, in my mind. And then we could talk about them contending, bringing in pieces, and being that talent. Did they upgrade a lot of what they had in my mind? Yes. Do they have a lot more potential than they did last year? Yes. Are they adding more talent than everybody? No. I think, again, what the Jets brought in was pretty impressive. And you got to, we're not factoring in losses of talent, but just who they brought in.
Right. The Jets did bring in a lot, like Javon Kinlaw, right? Mike Williams from the Chargers.
Yep.
Tyron Smith from Dallas, right?
Yes. Lots of pieces.
Also drafted a tackle, right? So that seems like that's shored up now. One more I wanted to call out here. Isaiah Oliver, decent cornerback for them, which they needed. And Tyrod Taylor, right? The fact that you don't have to rely on Zach Wilson if Aaron Rodgers goes down, that's huge. That's huge for them.
I would argue, again, the Jets probably have the edge there. So trash for me on the Patriots. Good for them for knowing the direction they want to go, but they're still in last place in my mind.
Yeah. And that really all depends on Drake May, right? We could look back and be like, wow, this is a great draft for them. But yeah, again, seems like he's going to be a ways out from being, a capable starter, right? Miami obviously added Jordan Poyer, Shaquille Barrett, a linebacker, John O. Smith. Jordan Brooks from Seattle, which I thought was a good pick for them. I mean, Isaiah Wynn, Kendall Fuller,
Yeah.
Braxton Berrios, if you care about that.
Lots on their draft was pretty nice in the defensive end department, right? They drafted some pass rushers, so they added talent as well.
Yep. Still all comes down to the quarterback for them. It's all there. Say it every year, right? Got to play good quarterback. All right, next one. The Miami Dolphins will win less than 10 games in 2024.
Yikes. That's a tough one. I'm going to go trash because I think 10 is the magic number for me right now. So less than 10, I think no. We know exactly who the Miami Dolphins are. They could have 10 wins by November, and I still expect them to finish with 10 wins, right? So I do think that this team, there's some
won 11 last year, so you think they get over the hump, over 10?
Well, I think right at 10 is where I would have them, right? So all
right.
10 and 7 sounds right to me. Competing for a playoff spot. That's where I have Miami in my mind, right? They're competing for the wild card spot. And it depends on what happens with the Jets, but I do have Miami over the Jets in my mind right now. And again, they have some easier teams on their schedule than like the Bills' schedule. So I do think Miami takes advantage of that early. And if they could get a win over the Bills, over the Jets in the division, they're expected to beat the Patriots, obviously, but you never know. So I think that could give them that 10-win mark. Yeah. And similar to last year when they looked like they were going to be the 1 seed in the AFC for a while there, and no, they fell off a cliff, right? So early in the season, they're going to get some wins on the board, and then I expect them to come back down to earth.
Yeah.
And
I think losing Christian Wilkins for them was huge, right? He was kind of the heart and soul of the defensive line for them, being able to, get the push up the middle. And that's going to be hard to fill, right? But they need more out of Tua, right? Yeah, he showed some flashes last year. Obviously, with that receiving core, that's expected. They had some phenomenal games. They scored 70 points in a game. But I feel like at the end of the year, it kind of fell off, and maybe teams are figuring out how to play them because to me, and I didn't watch a lot of Miami football, but, I watched some. It seems like they just ran the same handful of plays, right? And they're going to have to find a way to expand on that because I think, and maybe the Bills have some of this problem too, is when you have continuity, right? Coaching, play calling, players, other teams figure out how to play you, right? So you always have to be evolving. And I think that's going to be challenging for Miami, unless we see something new from Tua, because it just seems like he's limited as a passer. So, and he could take that step. He could, never really been a big believer in him being a superstar quarterback, but I think they're getting the most out of him. But how do you evolve that now that there's been, teams are kind of looking at you going, wow, this team was really good last year. We got to make sure they don't do this to us.
Yeah. And allegedly turning down $50 million a year, Tua is, right? So far with his contract negotiations with Miami, we'll see how it goes. I'm guessing the problem there is Miami's trying to make sure they have some protections in there with, okay, we'll give you 5-year, $50 million a year, but there's an out for us after the first year and a half, 2 years or something, right? Where they can get completely clean. And he's saying, no, I want $200 million guaranteed with that much. Mm-hmm. And at the quarterback position, that's pretty much standard.
And Tua has the leverage, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't really bring in competition. They were never in the market for a quarterbck. So
yeah, that's why I think ultimately they're going to pay him a lot of money. And he's going to get the guarantees he wants, right? So at least if they're going to keep him, because if not, he's going to walk away, right? So that would be surprising. I do expect them to come to some kind of deal before all is said and done, and it's week 1. Excuse me.
All right, good here. Let's go to the next one. The New York Jets win the AFC East in 2024. I think you brought it up last week where, which teams have the most AFC East wins. The Jets are actually 5th on that list. The Indianapolis Colts from the old AFC East are 4th. So they're due, right? I think they have the roster. We've talked about that. You don't think they can put it together through the coaching. Yeah, and obviously there's always the quarterback question. So
the coaching, the chemistry.
They have a shot to win the AFC East?
Do they have a shot? Sure. Are they going to? Absolutely not. Not in my mind. No, this is trash. No matter how much ESPN wants it to happen, no matter how much the NFL wants it to happen, it's trash. It's garbage. It's trash on fire. It's a dumpster fire. It's all of the above. It's the Jets. Okay. Objectively, somebody, anybody out there, ESPN, NFL, tell me why you think Aaron Rodgers is good. Anybody. The last time we saw Aaron Rodgers play a full season for the Green Bay Packers, he was absolute garbage. Okay? And the Jets said, we want that guy, that absolute garbage guy who used to be good, who used to be the best player in the league. We want him on our team at 40 years old. Okay? And coming off, and during that, he gets a season-ending injury that debilitates any player. We just saw it happen with much younger players. And now you're telling me he's going to be good enough to come in and beat Josh Allen. He's going to be good enough to come in and beat Tua and come in and beat these defenses that the Bills have, right? That the Patriots have, that the Jets, that the Miami has. It's not going to happen, okay? Is he still good? Can he still flash? Sure. I'm sure he still has the arm talent. I'm sure he's still smart enough to play the position. But the last time we saw him play a full season, he was terrible. Yes, there was all of this. He didn't really want to be there, bullcrap. And tell me he's not running for vice president right now. You think he's fully in with the Jets? Nobody could convince me that he's fully in with the Jets, that he is fully committed, that this is absolutely wants. There is nothing anybody can say that is convincing that, oh, Aaron Rodgers is completely focused on football and the New York Jets. Say that about any other team, and we're having a completely different conversation. Can they win the division? You're talking about, can they win anything? Can they win a game if their quarterback is thinking about running for vice president? Can they win a game if their quarterback is 40-plus years old and hasn't shown he could do anything in 4 years?
41 in December, yes.
4 years.
He's not on TB12 either, right? It's not like he's going to play till he's 45, I don't think. But could they have a season like the Denver Broncos when they won the Super Bowl in 2015, where Peyton Manning clearly lost everything?
Stop it.
Probably due to the surgery, but he clearly couldn't throw the ball, right? So they rely on other ways. Good defense. Jets
Peyton
are absolutely
Manning
capable
still
of playing
led
good
that
defense.
team. Peyton Manning was still 100% a leader. Peyton Manning was still all in every game. Peyton Manning still gave his left leg to be out there. Aaron Rodgers doesn't give a shit about football, about the Jets, about anything. Okay? He cares about himself. He cares about his own image. Does he want to win? Sure. I'm sure he does, for himself. Not for that team, not for those players, not for that coach, not for that organization. And if that is what we're saying, again, about any other player on any other team, we're saying to get them the hell out of there, because that's not the player you want on your team. But when it's Aaron Rodgers, the NFL loves it. Give him 6 primetime games.
Yes,
maybe he'll actually finish one of
big
them.
Market. Big
it's
market.
It's insane, right? The Jets,
pretty insane.
And even beyond that, you could talk about this coaching staff hasn't been able to get it done, especially against this division. You can talk about this team, this organization, their owner. It's chaos, right? From top to bottom, the Jets are the team that is set up to do well and consistently finishes in the bottom somehow, right?
Yeah.
Especially over the past 20 years.
But you got to feel like they've had 2 good drafts the last 2 years.
Yes.
They've brought in free agents each of the last 2 years. The defense was winning games with Zach Wilson last year for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Breece Hall came back and looked phenomenal. Obviously, they have all the talent. It comes down to quarterback play and coaching, right? I think Saleh can coach defense, but what's going on with the offense? There's talk of them replacing the coordinator last year.
Yep.
That kind of carries over into the season. And again, there's an aging quarterback. Favre went there, played 1 year, not successful, goes to Minnesota, makes the playoffs, right? Obviously 2 different situations, but there's something about the Jets, right? There's just something about where quarterbacks just don't play well there. And I don't know what that is. But
well, that's
distraction, ownership, maybe, gets them upset, whatever it is.
To me, that's why bringing him to that team was the biggest mistake they ever made. I was clamoring
they're getting
for them
the hype,
to get Andrew.
Right?
They're
selling tickets.
I wanted them to get Aaron Rodgers. I was one of the few who said, I hope Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets because I think he's washed up and they're going to go all in and pay him lots of money and not win with him. I think if they had a halfway decent younger quarterback, they'd be in a better situation to win now. They would not have the drama that comes with Aaron Rodgers, and they would have somebody who's more consistent and at least all in on the field with that team. and they don't have that.
Tyrod Taylor.
Exactly. That's why you bring in a guy like that.
Yeah.
Primetime Tyrod for 4 of 6 of those games. We might see primetime Tyrod if Aaron Rodgers stubs his big toe or something. So,
but Jets still have the longest playoff drought in the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that stat you told me last week was funny, so I had to put this on here just because the Colts have won the division more times than the Jets, and they haven't been in the AFC since 99, whatever year they changed the divisions. So it's getting embarrassing, right? They got to have a successful season at some point. Their only successful season was Rex Ryan, Mark Sanchez beating the Patriots in the playoffs. I mean, they're due, right? And it feels like I was getting to my point last time was the free agency's been good. The drafts have been good the last 2 years. If they don't succeed this year, everyone's fired. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're going to start over again.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Fresh start. 100%. That's why they had to go all in for this season. That's why they went out and got a Mike Williams. Is Mike Williams going to be the player? No, we've seen him come off injury. There's a lot of questions around that as well, but he has a high potential. And again, they had to take that risk because they needed wide receiver help, and that guy's staring you at the face. So to me, one last comment on that too.
This one rolls into the Jets too. So.
I know we have a comment, saying, I like the non-football side of Rodgers. Okay, what you need to understand is there's a very key difference between being an intellectual, which I think Rodgers very much is an intellectual. He likes to think about things. He likes to think outside the box. He's good at, what am I trying to say? Think about it for himself in his own perspective and communicate that in a way.
That's what you're going to say, right?
For himself, right? More introspective, right? From his perspective, yes. But that's not intelligence, right? The guy is bonkers, right? He thinks these crazy drugs are letting him reach another level of whatever. And, if that's your thing, fine. I'm not saying that's, wrong or whatever. I'm just saying there's a difference between being an intellectual where you like to intelligently think about things and being intelligent, which is knowing and understanding the situations for what it is, right? As a scientist, the intelligence part is important to that conversation versus the intellectual part. There's room for both, but yeah, he's much more intellectual than intelligent, I would say.
Yeah, well said.
Pet peeve of mine. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you put some thought into that before, I could tell. All right, next one here rolls back to the Jets, right? The AFC East team the Bills should be most worried about is the New York Jets. All right, so we got to play the teams in the division. Who are you most scared of? Is that the Jets? Cash or trash?
Man, I really want to say trash because I think that they have to get it done. If you're asking me, if you told me the Bills lost a game, the Bills will lose this season to both the Jets and the Miami Dolphins, right? Which one am I going to be more upset about because we shouldn't have lost to them? The Jets.
Saying sweep or
no? Just lose one of the games
in general.
Yeah,
okay.
One of the games to Miami, one of the games to the Jets. I'm going to be more upset that we lost to the Jets.
Yeah, so that
because I think
more,
Miami's a better team. I think that okay, if they beat us, they get the best of us. Their offense does what it can do best, and it ends up being 28-24 Dolphins. I can't be disappointed. That week 2 game, okay, I won't be like completely shattered if we lose that game. If we lose to the Jets, I'm going to be pissed off. I'm going to be angry. And why? Because I think the Bills are just that much of a better team than the Jets. So most worried about, you could make the argument, okay, the Jets defense has Josh Allen's number and tends to play well against him. Yes, I understand that. That's true. And the opposite is true with Miami. Josh Allen owns Miami. But ultimately, what it comes down to me is who at the AFC East, who's chasing us in the AFC East? It's Miami. They're number 2 in my mind. The Jets are number 3 still. Should we be worried about the Jets? Absolutely. We can't overlook them. But again, I am more focused on how do we get through how do we get to the top? That goes through beating Miami.
Right. But also, I just want to mention, losing to New England last year hurt the most.
Yes.
Right. So you're most scared to play against them because it hurts the most when you lose to New England, whatever it is. The history, the fact that Mac Jones beat you on a game-winning drive, the fact that you're better than them all the way around, you still lost, right?
So they really are the wild card.
If you think about it,
say the Patriots somehow beat the Bills once, beat the Miami Dolphins once, and the Jets beat them twice. Then the Jets have an advantage there, right? And the opposite is true. If the Bills beat New England twice and take care of business there, but New England finds a way to beat Miami and beat the Jets twice or something, then that's completely going to be the swing in the AFC East. And I do think New England is capable of doing that, right? Again, if you tell me, New England's going to beat Miami one game this season, I'm not going to be surprised. If you tell me New England's going to beat the Jets, I'm not going to be surprised. If you tell me New England's beating the Bills, I'm going to be pissed off. But again, is it possible? Yes, right. It's not crazy. Right. The Patriots are going to play spoiler in this division, and that's where it's going to come in because they're going to, be trying to ruin somebody's parade.
Right. So one last thought on that. So if the Bills don't win the AFC East next year, you think it's Miami, not the Jets, that wins.
Wins what?
The division.
The consolation prize. Yes.
Yeah.
They're not winning the division. It's still the Bills division. But the Miami
more
is
on that
number
later,
2.
but yes.
Miami's number 2.
So you're higher on Miami than you are with the Jets.
Absolutely. I don't know how anybody couldn't be. Miami's the better team still.
Yeah. But the Jets defense is good, man. Anyway. All right, a lot more to get to, little time. All right, Josh Allen will finish second in passing yards among AFC East quarterbacks.
Ooh.
Any chance Tua with that receiving core could outflow Josh Allen? Yards.
Oh, man. This is a tough one.
Maybe the Bills shift to more running, right? Mm-hmm. Less throwing. Miami's going to throw the ball over
Yes, exactly. So and I mean, they run the ball well too, but we just saw what Tua's yardage was last year more than Josh. So, I mean, I'm going to go cash with this just because I do think Miami gets the numbers maybe, but it's not going to be by much, right? Mm-hmm. If we're talking...
What's Tyreek Hill's yak, right? Yards after catch.
Exactly. And so that's the only thing. And you got to factor in, health and obviously, everything going the way
OBJ,
you expect it.
Waddle, right? There's a lot there.
He's got the weapons, and they're clearly gearing up the passing game. We know what they have there in terms of their top 2 for sure. And I think they've upgraded elsewhere in terms of the passing game. They do like to run the ball. They're balanced. To me, I don't see this question as Josh taking a step back. I see this as Josh being consistent and Miami needing to throw the ball more because of the situations they're in. So I think that is ultimately why I would go cash here. Josh Allen still could be the MVP, finishing second in the division in yards.
Well, and a lot of that's rushing, right? A lot of Josh Allen's game is his legs, right? So yeah, definitely agree with you. I don't love it, but cash, right? I think just the style of Miami's offense is just more designed for the quarterback in passing yards in particular than the Bills. Doesn't mean it wins games. All right, next one. Okay, going to go around the league. Cash or trash? The Baltimore Ravens should be the favorite to get the 1 seed in the AFC heading into the season.
Absolute trash.
Okay, I mean, they added some pieces, right? They won it last year.
Yeah. They won
Henry, right?
Listen.
Lots to like for the Ravens.
Baltimore has to focus on winning their division. That division is highly competitive. Anybody can win that division. Tell me right now the Browns win that division. Tell me right now Cincy wins that
highly
division.
Competitive.
Tell me right now Pittsburgh wins that division
last year, right? Which shows you something.
No. They got lucky last year because all 3 of those teams lost their quarterback. If that happened, I don't think they finish anywhere near the 1 seed. Do they win the division still? Maybe. They were good. They were very good last year. I'm not taking away from the team's mentality. I'm saying that they got lucky to get the 1 seed for sure. They were not the best team. They just had the best situation of those that went, right? So in my mind, no, they're not the favorite to be the 1 seed and here's the thing about the AFC. Go around the divisions, right? Who's going to win? You start with the winner of the division because that's who's going to have the shot at the 1 seed. So
Jacksonville, we were high on Jacksonville last offseason.
Who's going to win the North?
Reason, right?
Right? Who's going to win the North? Well, any of those teams can win, so I'm not counting on any of them to be the 1 seed for sure. Barring all 3 quarterbacks getting exactly. Yeah. Now let's go to the South. Every single one of those teams is capable of winning that division. Indy's probably a step below. That would be the most.
A lot of question marks with Indy.
But if you told me
the Texans could see the Titans,
right? Titans loaded up. They're definitely 2, but there's no question that it's between the Texans and the Jaguars at least. But if you told me the Titans are going to win that division day 1 right now, like that's how that's going to work out come next December, I'd believe you, right? I'd be like, they put it together, right? And they added a lot this offseason as well. So the South is very competitive. I think
I know where you're going with this, right? You like Kansas City to have the 1 seed.
Unfortunately, because now you look at the West and guess what? they've got 3 teams that are not expected to do much, that are rebuilding, and that's going to be easy wins for them.
They're going to sweep the Broncos, no doubt. They sweep
and that's
the Raiders,
why
no doubt.
We had this conversation last week, but that's why I do think the Bills are in that conversation, because we had Bills at the high end of 13 wins, at the low end 11 wins. I think that if you split that difference at 12, that could be what it takes to get the 1 seed, right? So if it's 11 to 13 wins and the Bills end up with 12, could Kansas City end up with 12? Maybe that's enough to get the Bills, if we beat them head to head in the season, the 1 seed. So the Bills and the Chiefs, to me, are still the ones in that conversation for the 1 seed. Right now,
Fair
they
point.
have to be the favorite.
All right. So you throw in Cincinnati in there as well. Joe Burrow back healthy.
Well, the problem is that division still. With Joe Burrow healthy and that team, I still would pick them to be the favorite to win their division. But with that division, they're still going to lose to 3 of those teams, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just, unfortunately, that's the way it is now, right?
Yeah. Very
With only one team, the best team in the weakest division usually gets in. And New England really benefited from that for years and years, right? Dolphins, Jets, Bills couldn't get their act together with the quarterback and the coaching. So, I mean, New England just benefited from that for years. So, yeah, that still remains true today. Kansas City's going to benefit from it this year, it seems like. All right. Just real quick, the most improved team in the NFL in 2024 will be the LA Chargers. Remember last year? Talent's there, quarterback's there, coaching's trash.
Okay, now
really,
we're talking.
This is a question about Jim Harbaugh. Can he turn it around in 1 year?
Now we're talking improved. So improved is the key word. I'm definitely going trash here. I don't think they turn it around.
It takes more
in
than
1
a year, you think?
Yes. I mean, I think this is a good first step. I do expect those players to have better attitude on the field, living more up to expectations. But when it translates to wins and what ultimately matters, not quite yet. They need to add a few more things, right? They're building. They just destroyed the wide receiver room. They're rebuilding in a lot of ways.
They're going to run the football, right?
Yes, they're going to be a run first
team. Their identity.
That takes time. That takes time to establish. So, and you still have an elite quarterback, so you're going to be in games. But I just don't see it being the Chargers. I was trying to think of the team that I think in the NFL. So you're opening it up to the entire league here. That opens things up for me. I think about the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, you were trash. You were garbage. Now you have a chance to compete within your division.
I mean, I'm interested to see the Bears as well, right? The Falcons.
The Bears are phenomenal now, loaded up. Now they have to live up to expectations. But when you're talking about improved, those are the teams who were picking at the top, the very top of the league, because they were the worst last year. And I have to look at some of those teams as, the Cardinals, the Bears, the Falcons.
Maybe the Commanders, right?
They could be all playoff teams.
Comes down to rookies, right? Rookie quarterbacks usually take a year. So I wouldn't really throw them in there.
Commanders, I'm not so confident in. But even the Falcons, I mean, they could be a Super Bowl team out of the NFC. That's not
Falcons,
a stretch.
A lot like there. The Steelers, I think, could fit in there, right? I mean, I know they made the wild card last year, but I feel like with what they have, they're going to be a better team, more explosive, which has kind of been their problem, right? They just have not been an explosive team. They play good defense. They have some pieces, but not a lot. Couldn't get the quarterback right. That could potentially be improved this year.
Potentially. They do have some offensive pieces, but I don't know that they're ready to take that step into competitiveness. Again, especially in their own division. You look around that division, that's tough, right? The Eagles, the Giants, and Dallas are all still, potentially playoff teams to try and do that.
And the Giants are interesting too, right? There's a lot to like about the Giants. I think Malik Neighbors he adds that explosion that they've been missing, right? Now I think they can dial up more plays now. It's not all on Daniel Jones running, or they're not trying to force feed Saquon Barkley anymore.
They finally have the wide receiver.
Could be interesting.
Yeah. And I've been saying that all along that they needed that. So the Giants could be there. But to me, because of the injury, that wouldn't be as impressive to me as improved. It would just be, you're healthy, you're living up to expectations now.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, let's run through these because we're out of time. We got 3 in a row here. Just one sentence. The most improved quarterback in the NFL in 2024 will be Anthony Richardson.
Improved. I think.
Improved. So no rookies, right?
Trash. I think he has. He's still in the category of rookie almost to me. He has a lot to show.
Yeah.
He's got a high potential. I'm excited to watch
starting
him
every
play.
game would be improved.
Yeah, I'm certainly excited to watch him play.
Yeah.
but improved.
I almost put Will Levis here, right?
Yes,
I think you saw some moxie last year. I think he's a guy that could make a jump. Will be most improved in the league. Tough
especially
to call,
with the weapons they have there and what they're doing in Tennessee. He could be that guy that makes them competitive. So I'm excited to see Richardson, but I think he's more in that category of rookie for me. So trash for me. I would take the field, and a guy like Will Levis came to mind for me as well.
All right. We'll elaborate more on that later. All right. San Francisco 49ers, still the favorites to win the NFC.
Yes, I would say cash, especially the way the roster is now. I think we're expecting some move to happen, but it isn't. That defense is still very good. That offense is still very good. They still have coaching that, consistency. They know what they're doing there, and they do it well. And that's going to be tough to beat. And to me, you could have the Eagles in the conversation, but I'm cash here.
It feels like the Eagles are falling off a little bit.
Chasing them.
They could bounce back, but the 49ers are the team to beat. And I almost want to say Detroit for some reason. But they're a good team, but the Niners I put above them.
Yes, definitely. In terms of consistency, you have to.
The Atlanta Falcons will have a better record than the Minnesota Vikings.
Cash, 100% cash. I think Minnesota with the rookie QB, that's just too much of a. They have amazing weapons there, right? They're going to win games just on their talent alone. However, there's so many question marks. Their defense, they're a team in transition for sure. They could still make the playoffs, but I just don't think. My expectations for the Atlanta Falcons are much, much higher. They're a Super Bowl contender in my mind.
Yeah, they should be.
And the Vikings are not. So,
but the way they've drafted has been really good. Like you said, there's a lot to like there. They've drafted Kyle Pitts high, Drake London high, Bijan Robinson high. I mean, there's expectation now, right? You filled the quarterback spot. At least the fan base thinks you filled it. And if you didn't fill it, well, you got a backup too. So there's a lot to like about Atlanta. Whereas Minnesota, they're still Minnesota, right? Justin Jefferson's still there.
Yeah.
It's still the biggest question of all.
Addison was great quarterback.
Last year. Yeah. Who plays quarterback for you, right? And that's where it comes down to. So I'd take Atlanta as well.
Yeah.
All
Plus
right,
the Bills,
more.
don't forget the Bills have Minnesota's second round pick. So it's going to be tough for me to not root for Minnesota this year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think Sam Darnold starts for them. All right. Cash or trash player awards. Lamar Jackson should be the favorite for MVP. Why not? Right?
Should be.
They're never going to give it to Josh Allen.
Yeah. Cash. I mean, should be the favorite. The guy just showed you what he can do. We know he can run. We know he can pass. There's no reason to believe that offensive system is going to change.
Right.
Cash.
Maybe more rushing with Derrick Henry over there. Yeah. I think that helps him, right? So, all right, easy one. No Bills rookies have a chance at offensive or defensive rookie of the year.
Oh.
No chance.
Trash. I have to say trash.
Okay.
To that, right?
Who do you like?
I mean, first of all, with defensive rookie of the year, these are both statistically driven categories, right?
Yeah.
We talked about defensive end being
also
one of those
a little
positions.
bit of popularity contest. Too,
right. But we talked about the Bills' defensive ends, pass rushers specifically, saying, they rotate a lot, but it's a situational thing in the league, right? A guy can be defensive player in the year playing 35% of snaps and just capitalizing on his opportunities and getting 12, 15 sacks, right? And so you're telling me Solomon doesn't have that opportunity? A guy goes down, he gets even more opportunity. He ends up
win
with
the stats. He's not going to win the popularity contest. There's no way they give that to a fifth round pick, sixth round pick.
True, that's what I mean. And offensively, Coleman, if he ends up with 10 touchdowns, and we've seen this happen over the years, right? With a bunch of wide receivers who were drafted ahead of him, the bar is high for those guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if Coleman ends up having an on par or better season statistically, just looking at the paper, if he ends up with 12 touchdowns and the next rookie only has 10, they're going to say, hey, he's definitely got a chance to be offensive rookie of the year, right? And situationally in this offense, we know he could end up having a huge role in this offense. So
that's also saying he's going to beat out all the rookie quarterbacks, right? And all the receivers that were taken ahead of him, who are going to have, some of them are going to have immediate impacts on teams, right? Adunze, Malik Neighbors, obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. It's an uphill climb, right?
Yeah.
Better shot is like Cole Bishop getting in early, making an impact on the team, having a shot at defensive rookie.
I was going to say that as well.
But still not going to win the popularity contest.
You have to have the flash statistics, right? He'd have to have 6 interceptions or something, right? Something that is like, wow, he got 6 interceptions as a rookie. That is something that you can't overlook, right? You can't overlook that. So I think
Yeah.
there's a chance there, though. If you tell me that's
Yeah.
what
So you're
happens at the
saying
end of the year,
trash. I'd say
trash
cash.
because I'm giving them a
I
chance.
don't think they have a chance. All right, next one. Cole Bishop will have a bigger impact on the Bills than Keon Coleman. Impact meaning turnovers, meaning tackles, key moments.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still trash on this one. I think even if Cole Bishop ends up getting a starting role, they're still going to work in those other guys that they have, right? So I know he's a playmaker. I know he goes after the ball. That's going to be pretty stats wise, but I still think, yeah, give me Coleman to surpass.
Yeah.
In terms
Well, we're
of
all hopeful it's Coleman,
production.
but I think they're going to spread the ball around a lot. So it very well could be Cole Bishop if he can get on the field. There might be a delay in him starting because there is some other competition there. Mike Edwards, somebody I like, right? He's got a lot of experience in the NFL. He played at a high level, right? He's going to have to beat out.
So that's my point. Even if Bishop is the starter, that doesn't mean he's going to be out there 90% of the plays. No, it's going to be a true rotation with these other depth pieces they brought in.
Yep. All right, last one here. Dalton Kincaid will be the Bills MVP, not named Josh Allen.
100% cash on this one. I am all in on Dalton Kincaid this season. I was last year. He was by far my favorite pick. I mean, in years for the Bills, because I had him as like going 6th in my mock drafts or 7th in my mock top 10. I never had him even coming close to the Bills because I was like, there's no way this guy gets out of the top 10. When he started to fall and it came to the Bills pick, I said, this better be Kincaid, right? This better be Kincaid. There's no way this can't be Kincaid. You're trading up. It's got to be Kincaid. They took him, and I've been in love ever since. He's probably becoming one of my favorite players on the team because of that. I never saw him. I never mocked him, never considered him becoming a Buffalo Bill. And when it happened, I was ecstatic. And seeing him play last year, getting to know the person he is, the fact that he is capable of carrying a team, of being that guy, 100% all in on Dalton Kincaid. And I truly believe this is going to be the year of Dalton Kincaid. They're going to spread the ball out, but he's going to be the impact guy that teams are defending against, that are worrying about. Where is Kincaid on the field? Where is this guy, right? And that's going to open things up for everybody else. So I think Kincaid absolutely could be the MVP. Now, you could make a case that it could be a defensive guy.
It could be Taron Johnson, Matt Milano if he comes back.
But I would argue that the defense spreads it out a lot more. There's more talent that is expected to do their role on the defense. That
their stats aren't flashy. Nobody cares about how many tackles.
It's going to be exactly. It's going to be Kincaid on the offense.
Yeah, or James Cook.
It could be Cook. Yeah,
Anyway, we'll talk more about that as the training camp gets closer, preseason gets closer, and obviously the season. Right before the season starts, we always go through every division, pick our winners. That'll be fun, right? So getting a little touch on that. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope you had a lot of fun tonight. We're back next week, 7:30 on Built in Buffalo. Also the Hoof Podcast channel. You can check us out there. Feel free to send us a message, send us a DM through the Twitter, the Hoof Podcast, or at the Hoof Pod. Let us know if there's any topics you want to discuss, any questions you may have. We're looking for news here in the off season. So appreciate you tuning in, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks for kicking it with us.